Alrighty, we good to go? All right, I'll go ahead and call us to order. Please call the roll.
Director Short,
I'm here.
Director Borges,
Here.
Director Allman,
Here.
Chairman Wright.
Here, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, God. Alrighty, let's go ahead and open up for public comment. Sorry, used to having something to read when I'm entering public comment. It's all good. Seeing none, I'll close public comment, and we'll move on to item number 3, election of officers.
I don't hear the wind rustling from Cancun in the background.
Joe, can you
Very
hear
good.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
There's no staff report, but it's time for you guys to select your chair and vice chair for 2026. And I wanted to thank the outgoing chair, which was Isaiah, and Ray was the vice chair last year. It was kind of unusual. We had both from the city. Usually it's one from the city and one from the county. So, up to you guys. Who would you like to nominate?
I'll nominate Supervisor Short.
It wasn't my fault we're here
Second.
at 5:30 on Friday.
I'll second that nomination.
All right, any other nominations? Perfect, then let's vote on that one.
Director Allman,
Yes.
Director Short,
Yes.
Director Borges.
Yes.
Chairman Wright.
Yes. Alrighty, we need a vice chair.
Are we trying to do, or should we go back to one county, one city, or how does that work?
Whatever,
We can do whatever.
do what we want.
What do we want?
What do you want?
Nominate myself for vice
There
chair.
you go. Trying to
I'll
get
second
you.
that motion.
If it can't be him, I can nominate him for vice chair.
There you go.
He can nominate himself, but yeah.
You can, Dodge? Okay. Sorry, thinking of nominating myself for mayor. How that would go over. Sorry.
Might be fun.
Any other nominations? Alrighty, seeing none. Please pull the vote.
Director Borges,
Yes.
Director Altman,
Yes.
Director Short.
Yes.
Short. Chairman Wright.
Yes. It was just those two? We don't have a secretary? No secretary. Okay.
No,
Always
just
a
those two.
vice, never a chair, you know.
Oh, Jesus.
Your show now?
Your show today or next one?
Yeah,
Whichever.
I guess it's my show now.
Alright.
Do we have to switch?
No,
We don't have to switch.
Yeah,
We don't
we're
have to
fine.
switch.
We don't have
Let's
any
move on
impact.
to the consent calendar. Do we have any public comment on consent calendar items? We have 2 items, the approval of the minutes from December 12th and accept the RCTA fiscal year 24-25 financial audit prepared by O'Connor CPAs.
Make a motion to approve consent calendar.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Will you poll the vote, please?
Director Borges,
Yes.
Director Wright,
Yes.
Director Altman,
Yes.
Chairman Short.
Yes. Thank you. Moving on to item 5, approve a resolution 2025-26-05, readopting RCTA's budget in the new ERP format required by the county. Do we have any public comment on this item? Seeing no public comment, I'll bring it back to the board for any discussion or a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve resolution 2025-26-05, readopting RCTA budget in new ERP format required by county.
Beautiful.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Melissa, will you pull the vote, please?
Director Altman,
Yes.
Director Wright,
Yes.
Director Borges,
Yes.
Chairman Short.
Yes. Okay, Joe, update on RCTA major capital projects. Go for it.
Thank you, Chair Short. And I will try to be brief. This is probably the most involved item that we wanted to update you guys on tonight. You know, since where to start? So since the inception of these projects, we landed funding from the TIRCIP, which is the Transit Intercity Rail Capital Program. But yeah, that's why we call it TIRCIP. It's easier to say. Cycle 6 funding, we were fortunate to receive over $7 million for the, spread out over the 3 distinct projects that were funded back in 2024. So those funds, and you'll see on Table 1 on the first page of your staff report, those are in the cells that are not colored. So that's in the plain white cells. You'll see the 3 projects, which is the Crescent City Transit Center, the procurement of electric buses, and the charging stations, which also we call it the Williams Drive project, because it's essentially upgrading Williams Drive to include infrastructure for electric bus charging. Anyway, so the 3 projects are all on their own timelines and paths, with the leading project being the charging stations at Williams Drive. So that project has moved along the furthest. We are deep into design. We've just received the 90% plans on that are under review now. So that project is on pace to have 100% design and be ready to bid by this summer. Now, there's a sequence of timing, so it probably won't really bid until the fall. The way the funds are released to RCTA is through the CTC, and they would go very sequentially, start, finish. So the CTC won't approve the start of the next phase until they see proof that the prior phase is completed. So when we get the 100% design done later this spring, at that point, then we can get on a CTC agenda and ask for the construction phase money to be released for us. So that project's the lead project. It's the furthest along, but I wanted to talk to you about all of them tonight to give you kind of an update on where they're at. The next project in the queue, we haven't talked a lot about it as much as the other 2, because it's a little bit more, buying buses is not as involved and as complicated. But we are going to we're pushing hard to get an allocation from the CTC this spring so that the Procure Electric Buses project can begin. And the reason we want to do it now is obviously the charging stations project's getting closer to reality. Within a year or so, the project will be completed and we'll have chargers, so we need buses then to charge. So we want to hurry up and order 1 bus. So as soon as we get CTC approval to order, to start that project, which is 6 buses at this point, we'll talk a little bit more about it. For a while, we thought we were going to go to 10, but we're running into, funding constraints on the other 2 projects. So we're going to go back to the original plan of 6 EVs out of the TIRCIP money. So we want to get that project kicked off with 1 bus ordered later this summer or late spring. We'll see how fast, as soon as we can, as soon as we get CTC approval. The reason being, we're getting our first electric bus that was funded separately out of a different source. That's finally going to arrive to us in March. I'm 99.9% sure. No, it's actually in California now, so they actually got a delivery address. It could even be here next week. So we're really close to getting the first bus, which is an Endera Model B built on a Ford Cutaway chassis, which at the time that we ordered the vehicle, that was the most compatible EV vehicle to what our regular fleet consists of. Since then, though, I mean, I am a little concerned about it, because not only has it taken 2 years to be built, which is unacceptable, probably will get better, but still not a good sign. But it's also going to be a high floor vehicle. So what that means is we used to have quite a few high floors in the fleet. We still have some, but they're not as good for the local routes and the work around Crescent City that we do. And that's what the duty cycle of these EVs is best fit for. So that's kind of, it's definitely a concern when the best fit for their usage will require our elderly and stuff to go up and down steps. It slows the routes down. It's more of a, it's more of a safety risk and stuff. So we are interested in a brand new vehicle that's just starting to hit the market. That's an EV low floor cutaway. So it's like the cutaways we've been buying for fixed route over the last about 5 years. We currently have like 4 in the fleet, and we're gonna have 7 here shortly. And those are great because they're easy to get on and off for seniors, for everybody really. So the ramp just flips out. You don't have a wheelchair lift. They're really superior for fixed route service. So there is now emerging, finally, a bus that we're interested in, but we need to pilot it. It's brand new. We don't know how well built it is and how it's going to perform. So that's what I'd like to order one of. So as soon as we kick off that procure battery electric buses project and get access to those funds, we'll order one of those. It's called an Optimal S1. Okay, so that's that project. Then as soon as we have a chance to side-by-side evaluate if that new bus that's a low floor performs well, we would then order 5 more of those as soon as we're convinced that it's the right thing to do. So that would probably be by, the end of 26, we'd place the order, early 27. Then the last project is the Crescent City Transit Center, which is not as far along as the Williams Drive EV charging station project. Just in the completing phase of the environmental document, or the PA and ED phase it's called. We received our design review approvals from Crescent City Planning Commission last month when I was in town, so in late February. So then the appeal period passed. It was not, the decision approval was not appealed. So now it's the environmental document's been posted. We didn't do it, the city took the lead on that part, but it's been posted to the state clearinghouse. So after that, the environmental document's officially done. So we'll be going to the CTC shortly for approval of our PS&E money, which is our design money. On table 1, you'll see it just shows 250,000. That's not going to be enough. We just experienced that the design for a simpler project, in my opinion, of the Williams Drive project ended up costing, in the over $400,000. So we know we've got to augment the PS&E funding for the transit center. It's going to be more involved. We need to have some architectural work. It's just a different project. So we're going to need to move some funds around, which we've already done a little bit of. Originally, we only had like 100,000. Or we only had 250,000 originally for PS&E on Williams Drive, and we moved money from construction ahead to, I guess, backwards to design so that we could get through that. So again, we're coming in, our initial estimates when we submitted this application in 2024 were, probably not, it didn't account for the inflation that the country's experienced, and the cost of everything's just gone through the roof. So we undershot on some of our design costs on both projects. So, and I anticipate that we undershot on construction as well. We'll talk more about that in a minute. So that's the nutshell status of the 3 projects. If you go a little further onto the next page of staff report, we start looking at the funding plans to move the money around so we can keep developing the project and keep moving forward. So this one shows in the red text cells and in the colored cells is where we're moving the funds around, or that we're asking the CTC and Caltrans to move it around. So here you'll see what we already did. We moved about another 184,000 into the charging stations PS&E so that we could get through that, and that's just barely going to be enough. I hope we'll be fine. But yeah, so that's just enough for that. So we borrowed from the future, from construction, to get that. We're going to need to, if you look up on the transit center project, we show another 250,000 is needed to complete that work. So that will need to come from somewhere. So what we've done here, backing up a little bit, the yellow cells are the first apportionment of TIRSIP of SB 125. It's a little bit of a misnomer, but it's SB 125 TIRSIP. That was the the governor or the legislature's transit, like COVID relief funds for transit that was put out a couple of years ago. We dedicated the whole first tranche we got, which was a little under 2 million. We dedicated all that to these projects. We threw it in there. So we put in $1,556,000 for construction of the transit center, because we knew you could tell early on that project was underfunded, because the initial allocation for construction was only 2.5 million, which probably not even close. So we added that to there, a little bit to electric buses, a couple cells below there, and a little bit got moved to get us through PA and ED, although I think that's going to be needed, because we're bumping right up against the 100. And then the orange cells are then the second tranche of the SB 125, and we haven't quite got that yet. We're just applying for it this spring. It's been available since last year. It flew under the radar a little bit, so we're just now applying for it. That is a total of about 800 and some thousand. And then there's going to be a third tranche that'll be available later this year, so we'll apply for some more in late 2026, and then that'll be the end of the SB 125 funding, essentially, that we're getting, which was really, a huge help. So the orange cells show where we plan to spend the second tranche TIRSIP, which is another 800 and some thousand, and that's to bolster the charging stations construction with another 275, 50 more to get us through PS&E on the Williams Drive project, because we have, it looks like we're going to need a little bit of that for the construction phase for support from the design engineering firm. And then we're adding 278,000 to the electric buses, and 250,000 from the Crescent City Transit Center for additional PS&E that we talked about. So we need about $500,000, we think, at least, to get through that with the architectural work that's needed as well. So that's like what we call option one, what we definitely want to do. And then where that money came from, in addition to those new orange cells, which is the second tranche TIRSIP SB 125 money, we also moved 1.4 million that had been in the electric bus section, and we moved that to other projects where we think it's more needed. So that brought down because we had initially thrown it in there to supplement the electric buses, and we were going to buy 10 of them until it became painfully obvious that the two brick and mortar projects are underfunded so badly. So then, as we're looking to how to finish this up, we still believe, even with moving these dollars around and kind of the zero-sum shell game of moving them between projects and reducing the electric vehicles back to quantity 6, we still think we're going to be underfunded for the transit center, which is the last project to deliver. So we'll get through we'll know for sure there might be a little surplus left, possibly from the charging stations project, which could be applied to the transit center, but I'm not counting on much. We have our engineer's estimate has been pretty consistent at 30, 60, and 90% of the charging stations project costing in the 4 to 4.5 million range. And as you see here, we only have like 3.4 million in this table. So we have a new one that we were going to splice in here. I don't see Jeff on the call. I was going to have him join us, but we're looking at the possibility of borrowing some of the money from the transit center construction, considering its last, kind of sequentially in sequence, borrow from that so that we can fully fund the Williams Drive EV charging stations project, and then apply for Cycle 8 funding, which is happening this year. The call for projects is out. The applications are due, I think, in early April or the end of March. So we need to. The next item on our agenda tonight, we're going to ask for a little money to get help from Green Dot to write that grant application. But we're going to apply for Cycle 8 funds to try to get enough money to successfully complete all 3 of the projects. Right now, I think we're borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, and we're probably going to end up being short on the transit center. If we're unsuccessful in the Cycle 8 application, we'll keep the same application, may have to tweak it a little bit. We'll apply in Cycle 9 and keep shopping this until we get the enough funding to build the transit center. Worst case scenario, if transit center's underfunded and we only have like 2.5 million, we can do all the flat work, the groundwork, build the bays and the civil stuff, and just not have our ultimate kiosk building right away, or maybe have a little temp kiosk at first. You know, we'll have to see. That would be like the worst case scenario if we're unsuccessful. If the Williams Drive project comes in as high as the engineer's estimate, which it very well could, and then we're unsuccessful in obtaining additional grant funds out of TIRSA with the grant writing exercise that we're about to take on. If that's unsuccessful, and then cycle 9 is unsuccessful, then by that point, we'd probably want to proceed with like a phase 1 project of the transit center and just build all the civil improvement, gets the facility in there, and then just operate with a temporary kiosk or something until we can get enough money to build our little building that we'd ultimately love to have down there. So that's the essence of this. I was looking for a table that Jeff's been working on, but I did not get that today. So that was the little yellow insert placeholder there on the last page. But that's our latest plan that shows what I just verbally kind of rambled through to you guys, showing us borrowing money from the construction of the transit center to make sure we can deliver the full scope of the Williams Drive EV project, and then worry about, then go after additional grant funding to replenish the funds for the transit center, because we think we don't have probably quite enough anyway. So we might as well borrow from that to make sure we deliver the first project successfully, and then hopefully we'll have good luck in the grant writing contest to get money to finish the transit center. I think there's one other thing I want to mention. The most expensive element of the Williams Drive project, and you guys will get a kick out of this, the most expensive element is the shade structure that'll go over where the buses park and where the EV chargers are. The cost of steel is being estimated, and in steel and installation, like it's $1.5 million out of that whole project. So it's not half, but it's like 40% of the whole project. So that would be the part that we could drop out. We have it in there as an option, but I'm really hoping we don't have to drop it out, because our drivers, it's something that we've wanted forever covered for those buses out there, and it would help, make all the equipment last longer. And I just think it would be a shame to drop that shade structure and rain cover structure out of the project, but that is a possibility. So if we weren't to do this, or if the board didn't want to borrow it all from the transit center project to add funds to Williams Drive, then the probable impact would be losing the shade structure. We could always do it later if we ever found money, but it seems like it would be best to do it while we have a contractor out there mobilized and doing work. So I'll stop and take questions.
Okay, is there any questions go ahead, Ray.
The shade structure is for the transit station?
No, Ray, the shade structure is for the Williams Drive yard, where the buses park at night and where they'll be charged.
Oh, okay.
So those chargers are overnight chargers. Think of like the Tesla lot down by the library downtown, except on our yard. So when the buses come home each night, where they park, they'll also slow charge overnight.
Yeah.
And so this would then have, I believe the 12 bus parking spaces would be covered by the shade structure, which also covers 6 of the chargers, because each charger is capable of charging 2 vehicles.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So here's my thinking, okay? So if there's not enough funding for the Williams Drive infrastructure for the chargers, then we got to kind of look at how long is it going to take us to get these buses? Because hasn't it taken forever just to get one bus? So we're going to have charging stations like a whole year before we have buses. And it seems like our priority project really is the transit center. So we don't want to like rob from the transit center, even though it's going to have the longest timeline to build a bunch of chargers when we won't have buses for a couple years after they're built. So I guess my question is do we have any kind of idea how long it's going to take to even get one electric bus? But I agree that we should have buses to charge once the charging stations are complete. But if that's not a reality, then I don't agree with borrowing from the transit center. If it's just not funded, it needs to just sit there until it's funded, in my opinion. I don't know, what are your guys' feelings on it, on option 1 and option 2?
Well, I didn't know if Joe wanted to respond to that, but the way I was understanding it is that we're about a year out from having the charging station completed, and that's about how long it takes to get a bus. So
Then that would be perfect.
then that would, I thought that's what I understood you to say, Joe, or at least it was gonna be very close.
I guess my thought process was, we still don't have an electric bus.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that we have 12 stations if we're only gonna roll back to 6 buses. I didn't know
Yeah.
if you wanted to say something about that
Because
too,
we have
Joe.
buses now that can populate a transit station. And if they're not gonna give us the funding for the electric idea, that to me is a total failure, but, you know, we have our gas buses, we need a bus stop, a bus station.
Yeah, I can't say I disagree with you. We can only use the electric buses on the local routes
Yeah,
because you can't
really
take them out of town.
terrible range.
Yeah.
They take 4 hours to charge before you get back on the road. It's just horrible idea. Till the technology catches up, you know, in my opinion, but that's how I feel about the whole electric car thing.
Joe, you got any feedback? for
Yeah,
us?
I'd love to respond to a couple of those great comments. Going back to the timing and the sequencing of the buses, we do have one that'll be here in let's say a couple weeks, give or take a couple weeks. That's the one that's taken 2 years to manufacture, and we are very disappointed in that vendor. They said it'd be 6 to 9 months. The other vendor that's just come on board that makes the low floor model that I was talking a little bit about, they're also saying 6 to 9 months. Can we trust them? We don't know. But maybe, you know, certainly that used to be the production time to get cutaways before COVID, but it's been all over the map, mostly bad since the pandemic. So with that in mind, going back to where we're at with the project delivery on the Williams Drive project, we could go to bid to construction as soon as like this next winter, late fall into winter, or at the very least the spring of 27. So the project will be done. We should have our chargers ready, whether or not there's a shade structure over them or not, by the summer of 27. So at that point, we should have 2 buses for sure to charge, but the wave of 5 more might not quite be here yet. That might be 6 months or so later, you know, you see what I mean? So there could be a little lag before we have that would give us 7 for charging. And that's where we'll be at for a while because we don't, and then, you know, we'll have to see as we can get more EVs along the way. One part of the project is we're asking for Cycle 8 money. We're also going to ask for a little bit of money for replacing our dollar ride fleet with EVs. So then they could also park under there and charge, of which there's 3 vehicles that currently provide the dollar ride. So we'll probably package that in. That seems like an attractive thing that should look good on our application. So we could park them in there and then we'd start to fill up the 12 spots. But, you know, so that's it. You know, I share Director Altman's concern about the EVs in general. For us, they are going to be limited to work in our valley there in Crescent City. They could go maybe as far as Smith River and Gasky, but they're not going to be put on the route down to Eureka for sure. It's not a fit. But it is I just want to remind the board, it's a mandate by CARB. This is not our choice to go. We're not trying to be trailblazers here in the EV industry. This is a mandate that we have to comply with the ICT rule.
Oh, we're complying with stuff.
Yeah.
CARB, yeah.
Also in Del Norte County, it should not be a shade structure. It should be like range structure. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we should just call it that. My bad.
It should be a range structure, yeah. But yeah, so we're complying with certain restrictions for our grants in order to build the infrastructure and order the buses. Is that what you're saying, in a certain timeline?
Yeah, yeah, the carb, we'll bring that up, maybe we can get the workshop in 3 weeks. We can go walk through that again, 'cause it's been a while since we covered it, but we're required to buy, at least 25%, ZEBs, they call them, which is either hydrogen-powered buses, which we're not ready for yet for sure, or electric vehicles, which we've been talking about ad nauseum here. We have to buy either one or the other, 25% of those each year from now onward. That started in 2026. So we do have a waiver we obtained from CARB, so we can continue to buy some diesel buses for the Eureka route. But we also, the reason we're gonna still be compliant, we're gonna have a percentage of these EVs on the lot. So yeah, it'll keep us in compliance with CARB, which allows us to continue to get all our different grants. Yeah.
Cool. Joe, I had just a quick question about the transit center. Did that environmental documents and conceptual plans, did it go to the planning commission last month?
Yeah, it was approved on the 22nd, that Thursday night. So yeah, we had a good discussion with them. And yeah, they ultimately approved it, and then the appeal period has since passed. So yeah, we're all good there.
Okay, I was just looking at this drawing that's in the packet today, and it was new to me. At least the last time I saw one, we were parking buses on a street and a little turnout, on Front Street and a little turnout, and then using the parking lot as well, but.
That's a great site. Do you guys have a second? I can kind of walk you through how that's evolved.
Yeah, I just had another, talking about shade
Okay.
structures, range structures. Is there gonna be any covered structures or structures for covering parking anywhere in this plan?
Not yet. That's something we certainly could discuss having. But yeah, the vision so far doesn't have any covered parking in there. The lot, as you can see in the figure 1 on the staff report, the concept is kind of a one-way bus loop that operates in like a 90-degree elbow fashion, coming in off of K Street and and then coming out on Front. And with a kiosk up in the corner. Remember, so we originally our vision originally was to have our transit facility down in the south part of the parking lot by Front Street. When the city engaged their urban design consultant and got rolling on that, they brought us in, and it's been a kind of a collaborative effort, but the urban design team suggested this change instead, to go with this loop and then have ideally, we showed 2 different possibilities for our building location. The upper right corner, so I guess the northwest corner by where the turn of the busway is, that's favored for a lot of reasons by the design group, because it'll create help with the sense of place up there. But the alternate locations back where we were originally having it down on the south end. But yeah, they got rid of the idea of bus parking along Front, and now the idea morphed into this off-street one-way busway concept, and that was through collaboration with the city's urban design consultant.
Well, that's great. I know the uncertainties with the building may remedy themselves. The library is right there, and I know they're looking for a different building, so you never know, that building may be vacated by the time this all comes to fruition, so it might just be a perfect spot to open up our transit center, I guess.
That would be interesting if that were to evolve that way.
We'll have to see, cross our fingers, I guess. Any more questions for Joe from you guys? No? Okay, is there any public comment on the update? Seeing no public comment, we'll bring it back, and thank you, Joe, for that, and move on to item 7, which is approve the agreement for a not-to-exceed amount of $20,000 with Green Dot Transportation for grant writing support for Cycle 8 TRCIP funding. Joe, you want to enlighten us on that?
I'll make it brief, because we just kind of hit this pretty hard on the last item, but this when we were successful with our $7 million funding of Cycle 6 TIRSIP, we engaged Green Dot for that application too. So they've got a history with us. They know our projects, and they've been successful in helping us write a successful grant application. So we'd like to use them for this cycle as well. And with the time constraints, we don't have time to do a formal procurement for this. So we'd like to sole source it with them and use those guys again, use Green Dot, I should say, again, to help us write this grant application.
Right on, Joe. Yeah, Green Dot's a good outfit, and the success kind of sells it. Any questions or comments from the board? Any comment from the public for this item? Oh, seeing no public comment, bring it back for
Just one question, just to make sure.
Go
I'm sure it'll be cleaned up afterwards, but just looking at the proposed schedule, it says from February to May. I'm assuming that's just because when that was initially, that will be updated, I assume. Is that correct, Joe?
Correct, yes, yes. At the time, we weren't sure, they hadn't released the grant call for project schedule exactly, so we were guessing then. But yeah, now it's a little more firm.
Okay, so that timeline will be updated.
Correct, yep.
Okay,
We'll
then-
update that. The work will need to be done by the end of March or the first week of April. It's coming right up.
Okay, then I will make a motion to approve the agreement with Green Dot Transportation not to exceed $20,000 to perform grant writing services for the upcoming TIRCP Cycle 8 capital funding opportunity.
Second.
got a motion and a second. Melissa, would you poll the vote, please?
Director Borges,
Yes.
Director Wright,
Yes.
Director Altman,
Yes.
Chairman Short.
Yes. Okay, continuation, item 8, continuation of discussion regarding LC top funding strategy and priorities. Joe?
All right. This is like a mini workshop. We have these kind of complex issues to dive into, and luckily this is the last one. So back in December, we had an item and we talked about how the LC Top Fund, how we've used it historically. Initially, we did like one batch of bus shelters, but then we switched it to the free ride program that we started about, oh gosh, it's been about 8 years now, which was successful. Initially, that was with college students, then it expanded to high school and middle, and then vets and seniors and disabled. So the free bus program ran for 3 years or so. Then Caltrans, in their infinite wisdom, said we couldn't keep doing that. And then they made us switch to another project. So we went ahead and funded the next 3 years worth. And each year our allocation's about 70,000 until, till the rest of the story. It's about to drop, unfortunately. We're going to cover that in a minute. But so for those years, we got like 3 years of what we call the electric bus project, and it was for capital funding. So unfortunately, what we really needed back then for that project was money to help with planning and design, but that was not an eligible expense. So we've been we banked 3 years worth of the LC Top for the electric buses. Then a couple of years ago, we moved 1 year's worth of that to the free ride program, as that program started to fully expend the money that had been amassed before. And it's a huge part of our recent ridership resurgence has been the free ride program. If you ask the riders, it's really, they love it. So it's a program that we don't want to lose. So what this whole staff report's about is kind of like, how do we just found out, it was released lately, and it's a complicated mechanism, but the end result is our LC Top's going to drop by about 40%. So we were getting 72,000 or so a year. It's now in the 40s. And we don't know if that'll be permanent, but certainly for a while. And the cause of it was the California legislature in this year's budget process, they changed how the whole cap and trade program works and where the funds go. So they took LC Top, that was a higher tier, to where it got funded first before other projects. They dropped it down a little and they put high-speed rail as top tier, so that gets fed first. And the effect of that when combined with the fact that the cap and trade program wasn't generating as much revenue as they'd hoped anyway, is that this program and some others, TERSIP's also, the Cycle 8 we talked about, TERSIP's also taken some cuts because of this, because of putting high-speed rail above these other two programs that are arguably much more important to transit across the state, which ticks me off. But by putting that above that, that's lowering the annual apportionment for this program. So what the staff report was about is, what do we do? Should we move more of that fleet electrification money that we've been banking? You know, it was banked. We switched back to free ride programs about 3 years ago, and we've been spending all our money on that. But it's still at risk of running out because our ridership has grown so much, and we added more eligible groups to it, to where the free ride program applies to over half our riders. So we need to make sure we have about 70,000 a year or so to maintain that free ride program. Otherwise, the net loss in fares would not be recovered from a grant. It would just be a loss in fares. So what we're recommending after, you know, more second thought, a couple of months to think about it, and more new information about these programs is, we recommend leaving 33,838. It's an oddball number, but what that is a shortfall on this bus that I told you is coming in a couple weeks. So the bus that's coming in a couple weeks, our first pilot EV, is about 350,000 is the purchase price with tax and everything out the door. And we have two major grant funds that pay for most of it, the VW settlement and the HVIP voucher, which is a statewide electric vehicle incentive thing. But it still leaves a shortfall of 33,838. We recommend paying that out of the fleet electrification money, just because we don't have a lot, our reserves are under a lot of stress right now with all these new buses that are coming in that do have local match requirements. Then the remaining funds that are left in the, let's see, I'm trying to think of the number. I think it's on the next page. Yeah, so our no, that's the SGR bus replacements. Forgive me 1 second, I gotta find that number. I don't wanna misspeak. Yeah, so our current balance from that fleet electrification silo of the LC top that was generated a few years ago, we have about 138,000 or 140 maybe with interest balance. So if we were to take 33 and move and leave in there and pay for the local match of this first bus with, that would allow us to have 105,000 that we can, if we want to, if the board supports it, we can ask Caltrans to move that to the free ride program. That's about a year and a half's worth of need. So that combined with our new, 40-some thousand a year, that would secure, we'd be able to guarantee that we can keep the program going, the free ride program going for at least a couple of years until we can, hopefully the fund bounces back or we can figure out some other ways to fund the program. So that's what I'm kind of recommending. This is not a decision item today, but we wanted to, we kind of ran out of time and I wanted to do some more research for you guys back in December when we first brought this up. So that would be, I just want to hear if the board shares my feelings that the free ride program is critical to us. That's what gets our ride, it's a ridership thing and that's helping us recover. So I do think we need to move some money over. And I think I made the argument a little bit, maybe not eloquently, but in the staff report, it's like keeping that 100,000, we could throw it at the Williams Drive project, but our shortfall is big. 100,000 is not really going to save the day, but the 100,000 does save the day by moving it over to the free ride program. It would help a little with Williams Drive, but it wouldn't get us a shade structure, for example. So that's kind of the thought, and I just want to hear what the board feels about it. And we can, if needed, we can revisit this at the workshop later in the month. But that's an update I wanted to give you on the LC top and our options for what to do with it.
Okay, any comments from the board about this?
No real comment, just, yeah, I agree with you, Joe. I think keeping that free ride program running is, I think it's worthwhile, and yeah, the money would show a immediate return on our investment, I guess, with keeping the ridership going. So, yeah, I agree with your recommendation.
Anyone else? I'm gonna have to recuse myself from discussing this, because I have a family member that uses it. But we'll go ahead and open this up for public comment. If anybody has any public comment on this item? Seeing none. That brings us to number 9 on our agenda, announcements. Anybody have any announcements for the good of the order? Joe, anything further?
Just wanted to make sure that I'm excited about the workshop on March 30th. So that'll be Monday night, 5:30 at the Williams Drive facility, not at Flynn there. And we're excited to have you guys there. This has been an annual tradition. We're definitely going to take a deep dive into our financial situation. As usual, it's complicated and challenging, but that's a good venue to do that. We can give you guys a little tour of the yard and show where we can break out the plans for the 90% plans on what's going to get built there. We can talk more about the shade structure and how important that is to us, because we really need to get your input on that. So yeah, that's my main announcement. I wanted to ask if Scott had anything from operations to update us with. Scott or Aline, I think, is there in person. Anything, any updates for the board on operations? How we doing?
If you could come to the mic for the recording.
Sure.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you, Scott.
No problem. We currently, for our staffing levels, on the verge of getting to as close to full staff as we've probably been since I've been here. We currently, with Aline, who's our operations and safety manager, and Erica, our dispatchers, come to the meeting as well, are currently in the process of, what seems like we get some people through class, we get them on board, and within 2 months, it's just a continual turnover, and it's a process that, unfortunately, from what I've been told, it's always been that way. So we'll try and as best we can. We struggle. I know that the school district as well is struggling with that as well, and so it's a battle that we'll go. We're both in that together. We're in the process of getting to where we feel like we're above water, and we will continue to do whatever we can to make sure we get the bodies inside and then get them trained and provide the service you guys want us to.
Right on. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Quick question for Joe.
Go right ahead, Ray.
Hey, Joe, I just wanted to ask real quick. They look great all over town. Is the bus stop bench project completed?
That was phase 1 is completed, but we're gonna have phase 2 and 3 coming. So I'm working on phase 2, list of locations and sketches now. So I can't wait till the end of March. I'll be able to spend a day in the field sketching locations. But yeah, we have another batch coming. So that was just the first one. And we have the materials with us. So we ordered a lot initially, and about a third of them have been installed in phase 1. So we got more to put out there.
Thank you.
Okay, before we go, I just wanted to say thank you to you all for providing a bus for the Night to Shine that happened last month. It was great, a well attended event. The kids, I shouldn't say kids, they're all ages, love to attend that, and everybody had a blast. And the wheelchair bus is just indispensable for that particular piece of that puzzle. So just wanted to say thank you very much. I don't know who the driver was, but very much appreciative of that little. The blue bus is pretty. I think it's great. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. We were wondering if you guys saw it.
Yeah. Yeah. It got in some pictures. It's a pretty bus. But anyway. Oh. That's great. Well, thank Nick from me, and that's great. Oh, yeah, They're on Facebook, so,
Share that on our website.
oh, okay. Yeah, I'll try and look them up. They're on the Night to Shine Facebook page, but, yeah, I'll try and forward them to you guys. But yeah, thanks again for that. That was great stuff. And seeing no more business, I'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting until our workshop, which is not on Friday night at 5:30, on March 30th, and see you all there.
Thanks, you guys. Appreciate you. Thanks for being here on a Friday
I believe-
night.
Yeah, it's a Monday.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.